So that's why I'm saying that, don't be afraid to to commit your own mistakes, because you will commit mistakes, but until then, you don't know that you're capable to do certain things.
Welcome to the Private Chef Podcast, serving the 1%. I'm your host, Hannes Henche, and on our show we speak to the best chefs, how they honed in on their skills to excel in the industry, and what it takes to work as a private chef for some of the most exclusive clients in the world. Welcome back to the Private Chef Podcast. Today we have Alberto Lazzarino. I hope I got that right, He came all the way from Italy in a way, but now he provides the best white truffle experiences, and we're almost in season, so we're going to talk a lot about white truffle, hopefully. Welcome to the show, Alberto.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward, to this interview. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Hannes.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. I mean, it's always good to have some European fellows with me, and there's, as we already explored just before we hit the record button, there's a certain connection because of, we're basically neighbors, and I spent some time in Italy and in your region in the Piedmont. So tell us a little bit more about, where does your love for cooking come from? And I know Italian families, there's a lot of cooking going on and a lot of love in the kitchen. So I'm sure it's going to be interesting.
Well, you hit the spot already. Like you just said it, it's all family related. I'm coming from a small family, but at the same time, we were living in a big house where both of my grandparents and they were living in one side of the house, and me with my folks and my brother were living on the other side. And mostly of the time, on the weekends, you just find yourself, sitting at the table, with a dozen of loving relatives, chugging down, delicious wine and food, and freshly prepared, because we were living in a farmhouse, so we were very sustainable. We had our own animals, we had our own gardens, of course, at any time of the year. It was easy. We were producing our own wine as well. And so, like I said, it was very sustainable and very organic. The fact that how I got involved with food was mostly because beside watching, the grandma or my mother cooking, studying abroad, I was coming back from school on my day, my daily base, and just like cooking myself something just to have a snack and get some energy before I had to dig down again on my studies. And at the time, I was involved in the wine industry. I'm coming from Piedmont. Piedmont is one of the most well-known region of the northwest area of Italy, and my specific town, which is Canelli, which is being recognized also by the UNESCO, has surrounded by hillsides and all growing beautiful wines. And we were talking about it like the Nebbiolo, the Barbaresco, the Barolo, the Barbera, wines that have been recognized all over the world lately, and help a lot of with the economy as well. But the fact that perhaps I was a little too young to get involved in the wine school, I lost a bit the passion and the feeling for it after 4 years, and that school was 6 years altogether. So I decided not to waste my time and my study and the knowledge that I had, with the wine, and I decided to combine it with the gastronomy.
Yep.
So it became like a gastronomy, and so I enrolled myself in one of the closest school for culinary school, in the area, and after that, my grades were pretty good, supposedly, and the principal decided to expose me and become somebody as an ambassador to represent Italy in Spain. and I start traveling right away. During my school here, I was sent to the island of Formentera, right below Ibiza, and I was teaching how to make like a fresh pastas or certain sauces, for the crew of this famous hotel on the island. And from there on, we just started traveling because it became like a word of mouth, and the school helped me a lot, and I'm very grateful to that. To the point where when I was done traveling around Europe for a few years, a phone call reached me out here from Los Angeles. That's where I'm from right now for the last 30 years. To come down here in one of the most beautiful restaurants at the time called Rex Restaurant, and all Italian staff, beautiful Art Deco building, and I became to help in a certain way to bring something new, something different, out of the kitchen. And the chef at the time, it was a female chef, incredible woman, which was really hard at the time to find a woman, in our business, in our establishment, because as you know, it's tough. Our business is really tough, and to hold up all that pressure, especially when you work at with a high-end clientele and offering like a white glove service, you can imagine how you go to sleep at night. You're just exhausted, but your brain, it keeps spinning and making sure that everything is perfectly organized for the next day. So that's what happened. I create this way to come to the United States just like that, and I stayed here for 1 year, and after that I decided to don't come back to Italy. And I was just going back and visiting, temporarily for a week or 2 weeks. That was about 30 years ago. I came in, in 1991, right after the riots in Los Angeles, which they destroyed, pretty much 1/3 of the city, and it was quite a difficult way to adjust yourself, for a guy like me that he didn't even have much knowledge of English language. So the communication was pretty drastic at first, but being exposed, and after I've been working for 2 years in Spain, my knowledge of the language in Spain helped me a lot to integrate myself here in Los Angeles, where the Spanish community it's very large, and is one of probably the most used and welcome, of course, class, working class in restaurants still nowadays. And that's what they were such a beautiful people that they helped me to make myself very comfortable and welcome, like I said, and it was like an easy step. The language came right after that. Like in less than 3 months, I became pretty much fluent, with the language. I wasn't wasting much time, just reading or attending class, because there was no time to attend class. The working hours are really heavy, but I learned, my language, and how to deal with the people, so I can place orders and help, my chef, calling, all the vendors and making sure that I was ordering the right stuff. Pretty much learning the way that we speak on the street.
Yeah.
And it worked really well. Then after that, of course, I took in my classes, my English classes, and I learned more, the language and became more fluent. But that's been like 30 years ago. Yeah, that's what happened. How did I got here? Yeah.
Wow. So let's look at the last 30 years in the United States. How did you go from working in an all-Italian restaurant team to working to some of the most exclusive clients in the world?
Well, the fact that this restaurant was this Rex restaurant that they welcomed me to the States was holding up all the major events, as the Grammy, as all the awards that are here in Hollywood. I got exposed immediately in less than 2 weeks to the largest crowd that everybody sees on their own TV or reads on their own newspapers and on the tabloids or whatever you want to mention. And I got fascinated immediately. by these people, because I always thought that there was a dream. There was people that didn't even exist at some point because they were so far away from me and a different world. And instead, I figured out immediately they were just like a beautiful, natural, very easy people to deal with. And so my brain, it was just like a moving, and I was just thinking that I was in the right place. After that, a year goes by. The owner of the restaurant had a different location as well, and we were helping to open the new venues and becoming like the sous chef and the executive chef of those helped a lot, with my skills and also the dreams that I was following. And after not so long, I had to change the way that I was thinking, that I was seeing certain things here in Los Angeles, and mostly because I thought that was way too repetitive and too, I would say, probably too like a copycat, where all the menus that were really getting over and over and over. So it was kind of in a boring way. And in my mind, there's probably I'm done already with Los Angeles, which it wasn't true. I contacted some friends, in China, and and they invite me to tag along, in this beautiful restaurant, which gained, the Michelin stars, of course. And when I was ready to leave Los Angeles, everything changed. Unfortunately, something occurred some bad news occurred in China, and they couldn't have me anymore at that time. And it says you have to wait another 6 months or 7 months for certain logistics. And I said, okay, that's okay. I can deal with this. And at the same time, a dear friend of mine, I didn't know it was some American friend, a colleague that worked as well in Italy years earlier, said, I have some money in my pocket. I'm looking to open this cafe / restaurant in Beverly Hills. Would you be willing to help me? And it wasn't really my dream, because when you talk about a cafe, with all respect, and you think about something, you're just doing some baking goods, maybe some sandwiches and something like that. So it was like degrading, your level, in a certain way. Versus this guy had a different vision. Yeah. As a matter of fact, nowadays at this restaurant, it's very popular. It's one of the largest ones, in Beverly Hills, and we did something together really cool. A year goes by, I start moving from one restaurant to another one again, just because I was greedy of knowledge and taste, and I was looking to increase, the way that my palate work, and also how to deal with certain people, with certain clienteles around the satellite cities that they surround Los Angeles. So I did that, for a few years, and always very successfully. My name will start showing up, on the major papers. Picture where I get exposed. So I was start living, the dream, the American dreams, where Sunday, you get, some fame, and it wasn't only those 15 minutes of fame, but it was becoming like something bigger than that. So, my emails were started getting crowded with the requests from restaurateurs from all over, asking, says, I'd like to have you on board with me. I think your skills are perfect for mine, for the project that I do have, and says, shoot me up. So of course, I replied to a few. Otherwise, I just said, no, thank you, I'm not interested. But with others, I said, I will give a try, and let's work together for a year or 2 years and see how we go. And again, I always help all this restaurant to reach out to their goals, and with a very interesting cuisine, which was slightly transformed, because, like I said, I was bored with to see all the menus, always the same salad, same appetizers, same design, the same structures, same old. Just the venue was changing, and I was kind of bored with that. Don't forget that here in South California, we barely have like a 1.5 seasons, it's always nice and sunny and warm, and sometimes it rains and we have like a full season. And so to find produce, I mean, it's exactly, it's so easy. So it's fun just to play year round with the fresh ingredients. And after that, we're talking about like already like 20 years later. I had a chance to put together, a family on my own, of course, to own a property and to establish as a true citizen. I became a legal, citizen as well, and that helped me a lot, of course, to find like even better positions to work, for work permits and to pay my taxes and so. And one day I decided. I was walking on Hollywood Boulevard and with a friend of mine, with another Italian friend, and it came out this idea and said that would be nice if a really cool restaurant will open here on the boulevard, and something special, not just for the tourists, respectfully, because they're really helpful for the city, but most something for the hillsides that surrounds the boulevard, which those are the Hollywood Hills. And the Hollywood Hills are well known for the major producers and actors and writers that you can imagine. So I was trying to look to create something new for a very specific clientele, which I did. So I opened for the first time in my own restaurant, and I call it Melograno, which means pomegranate, and every single dish was related with that pomegranate, and I brought my own Piedmontese cuisine with a twist. In a way that I knew that it could appeal the taste buds of my clientele, and that could be recognized in certain way because I did something different.
That sounds like a big commitment. Right. It sounds like a very big commitment to the pomegranate. Even though I love it, but I elaborate. I want to hear what you were doing there.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, even the famous brand Palm reached out to me immediately, said that we should do something together, and we were at the very beginning, so everything was really new, and it was really exciting but scary. I can assure you, because I did everything on my own, and we tried to keep it quiet as possible. But the venue was fantastic. The wife helped a lot, with the design and just like helping with the publicity as well, and the rest it was just me cooking something new, cooking something fresh constantly. Perhaps I'm among the few original chefs that they stay in the kitchen and cooks daily, and to provide that, what the clients are coming from, and they're coming for to eat, and it was tough. It was tough. Too bad that it happened during right before we had a big crash, and so the restaurant unfortunately had to last only 2.5 years. But during those 2.5 years, my name was all over the papers. My name was all over on the radios. My name was everywhere. I had the restaurateurs and their chef coming over and taste my food and try to give it like not to steal, but mostly to check out the ideas of what we was doing and try to do something on their own as well, because they finally saw that bringing something new, something different would work, instead of to consistently cook always the same things. And those years also, Michelin Guide was for the first time in the United States. So they came, of course, and visit me. And when they were about to publish, it says, we're about to award you. And I couldn't take it. We weren't ready yet. I wasn't ready yet. It was way too early for the restaurant. Maybe I commit the biggest mistake of my life, but I had to refuse, their award.
Is there such a thing?
I said, just give me something else, or just something, whatever, the destination. Well, certain certain chefs, they are set and they're looking for, for the star. Others, they don't. Of course, I always look for it, but I was humble enough to say I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't ready. Just to put, I would, the rest I would just open like in not even a month.
Yeah.
And we were just like a testing, trying to work and stuff. The kitchen was very small, extremely small. As a matter of fact, it was enough of only for 3 people inside to work. Okay, to tell you how small it was. So it could have been like a very dangerous way to approach my new venue if I would accept it. And because the clientele would be completely different than the line of people out there, and it would be sustainable in the way that I wanted to. So unfortunately, I had to step back and say, thank you, but no thank you. And it was okay. It was okay because, that was my life, I guess. It was written that way, I suppose. After that, unfortunately, something bad happened in my family. My brother got sick, and I had to move back to Italy temporarily to figure out what was happening. This is what helped me to change and switch from restaurants to become like a private chef, because the decision that was made. It was also I couldn't stay, around town, do nothing.
Yeah.
And just be supportive, to my family, of course, which was a big deal. But I had to be sustaining, myself and making sure that I bring money in somehow. I can't just sit here for a day, a week, a month, a year. Who knows?
Yeah.
We couldn't predict at the time. So my wife, was really helpful to help me out, because my mind at the time, it was kind of, you can imagine, it was kind of going in every direction. We managed to contact, a private owner of one of the most famous villa on Lake Como, and I had an interview, which I flew from LA straight to Italy, and the very same day I flew back. So this is the point of where how serious I was to take care of business. When I said, I can jump on a plane, come across the blood, right?
I've done the same thing before.
The interview went really well.
That's what it takes.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's crazy. If you wanna get something, you got to go out there and grab it and take it, with all you want, because otherwise it won't come to you. Not in that way. Not in that easy way. So they like me, of course. They like my attitude and everything. And they said, okay, we'll start a season together. And a couple of months later, I moved. Officially, I moved to Italy, and there was the end of February, beginning of March, or something like that. Yeah, if I remember correctly. And I stood there for pretty much for the next 4 years, coming back once in a while, just to recoup, and make sure that was fine, and just take a break a little bit. So I did like a four straight years, where I learned, where I shook hands, where I understood certain way that helped me to drive myself in a way that I could do something more private as a personal chef, and then not going back to restaurants, because I understood as I can do this, especially in a big city where I live right now, which is Los Angeles. I can do this easily, and it won't be so, quote me wrong, unhealthy, in a way that that when we work in restaurants, we do up to 16, 18 hours a day, daily.
Especially if your name is on the door.
7 days a week.
Like if you're the owner,
right,
and the chef,
especially when the people comes and they see your face, that you're there. So then they trust you even more. It says, I really want to come and see you, So anyway, from there on, I create a certain a small group of clientele that were coming visiting the United States as well, because I was working with politicians, very big bankers from around the world, all the royals from all the countries that they still have like royalties, and I tried to keep it as much as I could as my new clients, and it worked really well when everything ended up in Italy, and I moved back to the States, and right away it was so easy for me to find a work that I didn't need much all the agency that I'm still involved with in the city, recruiting agency, which I'm very grateful to them as well still today, because sometimes they keep calling me and says, hey, I got this guy, I got this bigger person here, are you interested, will you be able? And of course, when you need it, you just go for it. I also I worked for 10 years as a freelance, a private chef, which is like today I work with this name and tomorrow working with this guy, and they're all in Hollywood, on the Hollywood business. So suddenly, I was in their house, listening to their conversation, preparing delicious food, to them, to their family, to their business associate, and it just like based on their word, they were just like passing along as if they were my own personal business cards, because they were the one calling out at their own friends, their own relatives and friends of business, saying, use Alberto, as a chef, because it's very worthy. And one after the other one, I created one of the largest, clienteles in my portfolio, which is still working nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. It's incredible. Sometimes when I tell the story, and it says, I can't believe it that you're in the house of this person. I can't believe it that you work for that person. When, those are the big, face that you hear, that you read about their lives, and you see them all the time. As soon as you turn off a TV or you go to the theaters, you see those people. And I'm one of the guys that lucky enough to work with them.
Yeah, see, you've truly lived the American dream, and you've probably never thought about that this could happen in your life when you originally started in Italy, in school, and your chef sent you to Spain. That was like one of the most exciting things, and you didn't see what's still coming down the road, like, working in the Hollywood Hills these days.
I had no idea. I had no idea what I was expecting, or what was expecting me, around the corner. Because, my idea was like I work in restaurants and then move from one place to another one. And sure enough, one day I will open my own and became, I fulfilled my own dream to own my own restaurant and do whatever I want. And it happened, but also, like I said earlier, there was a change in life that unexpected, and sometimes from the dark side, you always see the bright side, and the silver lining, appears, to you, and helps you to figure out, a new way to live. And like you said, I'm very happy. I'm very grateful, of what I achieved so far. Absolutely.
So now in hindsight, now you know maybe the best and the worst of both worlds. Would you ever consider going back to owning your own restaurant, or are you happy in the space where you are right now, working for families?
Right. That's a great question. Many people ask me the same question as well, because they were looking to invest with me and create something. And Los Angeles is very aggressive, especially in our industry. So there are restaurants everywhere. And honestly, with the times that we're living right now, it's not so easy to find the right location. The city, it's always about location. If you're not in the right place, it is not happening. And but also depends, it's based on the idea or the concept that you want to present. Otherwise, you can do whatever you want. But the fact that the rent is so high, and you can't even get close to the owners and says, I would like to buy your walls. We're just like, I'm not going to do that. They make it their own investment, of course. For others, as a restaurateur, to start with a very large budget, just to make sure that you can make it to pay the rent, and you haven't opened the doors yet of your own restaurants, which how difficult it could be with the expenses, to maintain staff, to pay all the bills, to make sure that you have enough money to buy all the materials that you need to turn and transform and serve. The projections becoming almost unrealistic at some point, and to bring in way too many investors, it can jeopardize your future. Yes, the easy come, the easy go, and you can just rely on that sometimes. So answering your question, no. I'm not interested to open a restaurant now in Los Angeles whatsoever. It's still spinning my mind to open a restaurant somewhere around the world, in some warm place. I'm a person that really likes warm weather, and this is probably one of the reasons why LA to me it's such a magnet, because the weather is fantastic. You can find anything you want at any time of the day. It's easy to move around. It's comfortable. But if I have to open a restaurant, I will do it somewhere else. Absolutely. And I still have the energy and the will to do so. Sometimes people look at you, you have a certain age, and says, I don't think you're going to make it. And says, oh, no, I can do it. I can still kick some butt here and there.
So where does all your energy come from? What are you eating for breakfast?
Oh, I don't eat breakfast, which is a bad
That's
way
the trick.
to start your day. I'm not a guy that wakes up and he brew his own coffee, but I'd rather have a cup of tea and just relax. My breakfast is meditation. I like it to meditate, before I start my day, so I can regroup with myself and with my thoughts, and I get ready for work. Then when I go out and start buying all my grocery, that's what I base most of my menu with the family that I'm working right now. They don't request to build up a menu weekly, so they can see it and make a decision. They just said after the first day of training, they said, do whatever you want. Those are our likes and those are our dislikes, and we have no allergy. Do whatever you want. We don't care. Play with all the cuisines of this world. I don't care. It's fine with me. Just bring me the really good food that you know to make, and use high quality ingredients all the time. We have money. Don't care about the rest. Okay. So, my
Sounds
breakfast
like a
is
dream.
that. It is. But when I start buying groceries first in the morning, I'm always end up on eating something, then in my car and driving to the property. So my breakfast, it gets a little late, instead of the beginning of the day, at the morning, it's always a little late. And some people says, I can't believe that you eat this, but it's okay with me. So to answer your question, I eat sushi. This is my breakfast. Most of the day,
It's okay.
most of the mornings,
I've been there.
Most of the day, it's something that gives it a great energy. I love the flavors, I love the taste, the texture. Sometimes I don't have time to do it myself unless it's been requested, by the principal, by my clients. But otherwise, it's a quick fruit and maybe an organic juice that they can juice for me at the store, and just a quick sushi. And it's a couple of bites. Then during the day, I nibble and I taste food here and there. Yeah.
So what are your favorite cuisines to cook when you cook for your principals? Do you draw a lot from your heritage in Italy, or what do you really like to bring to the table? Right.
And somehow I'm always trying to integrate something that is part of my roots. So Italian food, or from my region, I always do something. And it can be a simple ingredients. It can be just give me a fresh pasta, or in a way that is being used a certain cereals or certain grains. I'll do that. But to have a favorite dish or a favorite cuisine, I have no answer to that, because it's a constant challenge and a constant change of request. So it's not that today or this week we go French, or we do all Spanish, or we do some African food, or we do some Australian or Australasian or Indians or anything. It's just like they usually receive a text message or an email that says, "What do you think about today? We'll do something a bit exotic. Surprise me." And it says, "Okay, cool." And I go to the right stores, to buy whatever I need to buy, and I created, 6-7 courses menu, and it's always been appreciated. And so unfortunately, I don't have like a signature dish anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. At the restaurant used to, not here anymore, unfortunately. And it's okay, It's part of the deal.
Are you doing 6-7 course menus on a daily basis?
Mostly, yes.
Oh,
and
wow. That's
it could be served. It could be served buffet style, or it could be served, individually. Yes, unless they tell me, says, I don't want to eat that much, but I would like it to have a selection of food that I can enjoy. So it can be both a salad and a soup, and then a pasta or a grain, or it can be like a meat and fish, and lots of veggies, to play with, prepared in different ways, and something sweet, of course. Then if they don't touch certain things, it's okay, but they will like to have a selection.
Yeah, I think that's actually very common. People appreciate selection, and having the different things on the table, and maybe it's also the clients we have. They're used to, the world is their oyster by default. Like they always get to choose. So I think they're very much used to not having a single meal as such, but maybe having a certain set of variety.
But please don't get me wrong. Sometimes they just ask me, can you just do like a simple salad and perhaps some kind of protein of your taste, and that's the end of the day. No problem at all. Okay, and it occurs quite often, but probably because they have a bigger lunch, like a bigger business lunch, so they decide to stay a little lighter at night, or vice versa. So, this is part of the flexibility that we need to have, when you work in a household where you got to make sure that the principal is content with what you do, and mine really don't appreciate, or they don't want to see any waste, which there's never waste. I manage. I don't know. I'm at that kind of like a human scale that knows exactly, how much a portion you need to prepare, and it's enough as well in case of it that there's left over to give away.
Yeah, that's also 3 decades of experience. You what you need, to serve X amount of people, and that 10 gram of extra white truffle, they might just go on your pasta tonight.
Or even 20 or 30.
So
the more the better, when we talk about truffles.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Let's
Yes.
So you mentioned that you kind of have your own guys on the ground when it comes to white truffle. How do you get that shipped directly to you in LA? Is that regular overnight mail from Italy, or how do you manage
overnight?
to do that?
Yes. We can do that unless it's a large quantity. So then it will go through custom in a different ways, and it has to be shipped in a different way, so which I can use as somebody else here as well as a receiver. But if you just order like a kilo and say.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So a kilo basically makes a small package, which
Correct.
goes straighter. Okay.
Which it goes straight to the house. Yes. It's easy to ship, it's easy to receive, and it's not a big issue. When we start talking about like a 50 kilos, whatever, 100 pounds of products, that's a different deal. Because the government wants to have something on it as well, so it has to go through different menus, But it's doable as well, and it's all legal, of course. Yeah, but perhaps it will take an extra 2 days, to pass custom and to get collect, versus a parcel it will just come straight to you, in the day.
So one of the things I noticed, and not sure if it's the same when you get it so directly as you have the contacts on the ground, it's something we never had. But having worked at some of the best restaurants in New York City, I never felt that the truffle we had there was the same as the truffle we used in Europe. And, I always felt that, for example, when we were in Munich, I mean, that's literally just up the street from the regions, or even when we were in southern Spain, it's still driving distance. Once you get to international logistics, by the time it arrives in New York, and then by the time the guy brings it to us, and by the time we bring it to the client on the table and shave it down, I feel like, that nuance, that scent is already, it's very fleeting. The aroma of the truffle itself, and while you still hold the truffle in your hand, it was never as rich and as satisfying as I experienced it in Europe most of the time, which kind of made me. And I remember I was eating at one of the restaurants. Try to pull up the name, and I think that it was like a $220 risotto dish, and I was so bummed out because before I ordered, I knew that the truffle, despite being labeled Alberto truffle, it wouldn't be as I know it eating it in Europe. And it was exactly like that. And I was so bummed out.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes happens that it can be that the truffles was harvested in the wrong way. Perhaps it was a day where there was a lot of water into the soil. And the tuber itself, just like absorb way too much, and then getting dry and ripening, it lost part of his fragrance and his texture. We all know that pretty much all the ingredients that have been shipped across the globe, they suffer this kind of like a stress. Or traveled, traveling stuff, and and their quality tended to change. But also, like you said, sometimes it's not that they've been labeled in the right place, and you have it's like for the foie gras or for the Kobe meat and stuff. They all come like a different grades, and sometimes we pay for the higher grades when way 3 or 4 grades lower, but we don't know because the customers don't know. They're just excited to see these beautiful potatoes, that has this stinky, smelly fragrance, and you're willing to pay a fortune for it, and you don't know much. Then you find somebody more people like us that has the knowledge because it's been, had the chance and been lucky enough to work with the product in a different ways to create some incredible dishes, and knows and understand better the quality. So it's not just based on the price tag that has been played, that you see, because you can be fooled around by anybody, nowadays. So this is why I rely on the person that I deal with directly, from my region, near the area of Alba, than not from somebody else that I know really well, great friends of mine, for the past 30 years, where I bought lots of the product as well. But there's always a but, you really don't know, if it comes from the right place or not. Because at the end, everybody try to run some business, and they'll do it sometimes with a smile on your face.
Are you saying Italians do that or what? In Germany, Italians are kind of known to do that. It's very funny that the way you said it, being Italian, The Germans always take Italians with a grain of salt because they will sell it with a big smile on it, and they were like,
with a big smile.
Take it.
I said, I already fooled you.
Very big smile. And our white truffle guy in the first restaurant I worked at, he was also Italian, though, and it was this very interesting. It was such a character, He would like walk into the restaurant like he owns it, and he was like, ciao, and it was like an experience just to buy the truffle from him. But it was funny. One day he didn't show up anymore, and then a couple months later down the road, I heard from a different vendor that he actually ended up in jail for different reasons having to do with trafficking narcotics and stuff. And I was like, oh my God. He's like, probably next to the white truffle in his safe, he must have had guns and narcotics. I don't know what he was doing, but he was selling a lot more than just white truffles.
I'm telling you,
it was a very interesting man.
I know for sure that the truffle hunters, that they do their business at night always, because they meet and they sell mostly at night when there's no traffic, when there's no many eyes looking and stuff. But I know for sure. And as a matter of fact, I think even there was an interesting documentary on Netflix about 2 years ago about truffles in the way that they go in Italy as well. And because they did France and Italy, of course, because of the most the two countries that they produce most, and those guys they go around it, with weapons. They're armed because they're afraid to be jumped by who knows who. Because there's a lot of cash involved, and it is a product that it's easy to sell to make cash. So yeah, I was very surprised that most of them they go around armed. So be careful out there, people. Okay, don't jump anybody that comes with truffles at your doorsteps.
Don't jump the truffle guy. That's definitely
don't jump the truffle guy.
Story,
You'll be surprised.
Yeah, just get Alberto to cook the truffle meal for you. You won't get killed in that process.
Oh, I would love to. I'm about to use some truffles next week anyway, but it would be nice.
Nice. What are you gonna make? What are you cooking?
I'm planning to do. My clients are deciding to invite some very well-known people in Hollywood, and so I suggest that can we do like in one evening where we can just play with truffles every single courses, and they were very stoked to hear that. So I'm planning to play something interesting. Yeah, we'll see.
Got a nice white truffle dessert.
I was looking to create a very gentle mousse, which is more like a warm custard that we use as a base for one of the souffle that I will prepare, because I'm trying to make sure that I didn't do something too sophisticated or too complicated. First of all, to handle, because there'll be a lot of people, but mostly I want to just keep as simple as possible to create this elegance as a last bite. And I'm going to play with some fruit and some seasonal fruit, which are probably going to be some persimmons and maybe some light cardamom as well, and some green tea. And the combination will be for both the black truffles and the white truffles. Yes. So I'm still working on that. I just want to make sure that I created the correct balance where it levels, into your mouth, to every single bite. I don't want to have an explosion that it goes away. I want to do the opposite. I want to do something where the more that you taste it, the more you let it melt in your mouth, the more you feel all these flavors coming to you, and they will persist. They will last longer than just a bite that it goes away.
The more you want to, the more you want to eat.
And the more you want it, yes, correct.
Nice. So for someone, I mean, your story is very, very, very different. But for someone who is new to the industry, or maybe someone who is in the United States and is very skilled, or maybe someone who is in Europe and very skilled, these days, what would you give them on the way to become a private chef if they if they wanted to do that, what would you say are some of the important pillars that you stand on?
Well, first of all, I would say probably to be really humble with themselves in the way that they approach this new industry, because it's becoming more stronger, more powerful, and more recognized, and at the same time requested as well to become to find like a private chef. I figured out almost like it's a new lifestyle. But what I think is what I will say to whatever's listening, to whatever is following your podcast, which is fantastic. Definitely pursue your dreams. You have to believe it on something, on what you're doing. You have to fight for your beliefs, because otherwise you won't obtain what you want. It's very important to be consistent and keep the consistency afloat. You can have this kind of roller coaster where today, your mood or the way that you want to create is something, it's really nice and elegant, and Sunday the next day it changes completely, because it creates a friction. Definitely got to take advantage of your opportunities, as in if you have a chance to work for certain strong people, don't be too shy about it. They're human beings just like everybody else, and if you bring up your own fresh attitude, and it's a big deal, and it's a point of your advantage. It's like to transcend your insecurities as well. So that changed the fact that you can deal with the pressure and whatever, it can be negative at some point in your day, and it just goes away. It's important to inspire others always, no matter what you do with their job. You need to become an inspiration. And after 30 years, I'm still receiving messages on my phone, on email, on the social media platform. Thank you so much, Chef, for those years, for what you taught me, for the time that we spent together, for what you helped me to create nowadays. And they all became their own chef, their own restaurants, they all became their private chef, and they know exactly how to deal with, when before they were pretty much lost at sea, as we want to put it. It's important to learn from your mistakes. I believe that a big time. Don't be afraid to commit mistakes, but don't commit that many. And rise from the ashes as soon as possible. Absolutely.
And if you make some mistakes, put some good sauce over them.
Absolutely. Just like ketchup was born, many years ago. You need to. Yeah. I believe that it's important to have a strong work ethic. So make sure that your persona is pleased and it welcomes whatever you're working with in that environment. Otherwise, you feel almost like a castaway at some point, where people don't want to deal with you. So your mood and the way that you're entering a household, it's really a big deal. So you have to bring energy inside, and you need to feel the energy. Otherwise, it won't work. It's a great way to discover yourself, working every day in this business. Absolutely. Definitely fight your ego. Woo! Leave the ego somewhere else. Okay. Sometimes it can take you in the wrong places, unfortunately. I would say master your craft. Absolutely. And just increasing, just make it bigger and stronger. The more that you have knowledge, the better your way to create goes. I remember once, I was sitting, in this small room with Anthony Bourdain, that I remember when he said it once. I said, if you want to learn something interesting and new and different, sit with somebody that it's a stranger to you, and start a conversation. Eat beautiful food and drink whatever it's offered to you. And And, I think it was like a very powerful message they was trying to send at the time. And another thing that it's really important in our business, stay sober. I know how difficult it could be working in our industry, how liable we are, to get exposed to anything just to keep ourselves going. It happened to most of us, but try to stay sober because it's probably the only way to stay afloat and to stay direct in contact with yourself and creative and successful and alive. Something bad happened out there, and we all know, and we don't want to have that happen anymore. So it's important to stay sober at any level in our business. I believe that. Outside, do whatever, but at work, try to stay focused on that way. Yeah, that's what I would say to the new ones that come.
And that was a whole list. You like got them fully dialed in. If they take all of that too hard, they're ready to go.
Yeah, no, I think those are the keys that you want to keep in your mind, because you gotta have something like that. Otherwise you're just waking up in the morning and it become you're so static instead of to be motivated. You have to be motivated. Otherwise, do something else. We entertainers.
There's one interesting. Yeah, that's true. We are. Well, we are entertainers and caretakers at the same time.
Yes,
and maybe so more entertaining in the Beverly Hills, but I think in generally working in families' homes.
In my case, it is what it is. But yes.
Well, you got to entertain the entertainers.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
One of the things that I realized.
Go ahead.
Going through your list, besides mastering your craft, the majority of the list was actually not about cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a certain kind of human to do what we're doing.
Correct. This is why I mentioned get the knowledge of that, so don't be afraid to learn something new, with all the technology that we exposed to, it's so easy to learn and to figure out something. Then with the passion that is within you, you can create anything you want. You can twist it, you can turn it, but if you can just stall in something that you learn once and you feel comfortable, don't stay in your comfortable zone. Just look at challenge yourself and become motivated in that way. So that's why I'm saying that don't be afraid to to commit your own mistakes, because you will commit mistakes. But until then, you don't know that you're capable to do certain things. So it's good. It's good to have that knowledge.
There. The knowledge is out there, but I think, and there's a famous quote about that. I can't get it together. But definitely the knowledge is out there, but the willingness to learn isn't quite there. I think that really blows my mind these days. There's so much knowledge out there for free, and I would say the majority, and definitely if you live in the United States, you have access. Like there's no shortage of information to master anything. And I think Elon Musk has proved that with rockets.
Right. So I don't understand if it's people that they feel kind of lazy at some point, or they probably believe that themselves are so accomplished already. But I know, like in master chefs, around the world, they keep going, and because it says I achieved the top, but I can do more. I can do much more with the power that they achieve all of a sudden, that I was exposed to everything. Why not? And keep going and create something new and do something better. I find it fascinating. It gives me goosebumps every time that I'm talking about it. So never be afraid to stop. Don't just learn something and sit in there for your rest of your life. It's not worth it. Do something that, challenges you, So otherwise, we live on this flat line, and then for what? It's not worth it. This is not life. You know, you want to feel life. You want to feel alive inside, and you want to feel people that says, you did something incredible to me that I never tasted before in my life. And that's when it's like you feel the spark in your inside of you. You know about it. You know, it's just like, it's crazy. But until then, they tell you, oh yeah, that's good. And what? I'm not that kind of person. I like it. I like it. You know, I like it to feel the people, to have to create emotions. You know, when they eat. You know, when they feel like, oh my God. You know, I remember. You know, those days. You know, when I was a child, and you know, it brought back a certain memories and stuff. I want to do something like that. I want to feel I want to feel motivated myself, but I want to motivate other people. You know, I want to see, yeah. I want to feel, I want to hear in their voice when they're humming, when they go like, oh my God, and they start whispering, they go like, and then quiet, a complete silence, because the food is so good that it's just like I can't talk over this. I just need to enjoy this time and this moment. And that's, to me, is the most, it's a treasure to me that has no price on it. There's no price tag on. I go back home and say, I accomplished what I wake up for when I started my day with, you know, and says I did something really good, and tomorrow I will do better. I will definitely do better. Yeah, that's how I motivated myself.
Italian passion speaking from the heart.
See. I don't know if it's part of my DNA or the culture, or you can name it, you know, but definitely, yes, I do. I'm grateful to my culture, absolutely, because it taught me much about food and appreciation of food. Yes, and to use ingredients from, you know, with in the whole ways possible, with no waste, in more sustainable way, and in the way that I can twist and turn and recreate something new that has not been done yet, which doesn't still exist anymore. But you know, we always try to do something new. You never know, something come out.
Yeah, well, you know, you got a tremendous heritage in Italy, and you guys got amazing products. So I think you really, you know, you were born in a beautiful place, to say the least. And you know, it's a beautiful food tradition that you have over there. And I think it's hearing you talk about food and, you know, what you want to do to it. I can see how your journey progressed and why you're so happy in California, especially in LA. So
but, you know,
thank you so much for making,
you know,
the time, Alberto.
Yeah. This is pretty much, you know, a well-lit life at some point. You know, that's what I categorize in that way, that I live a good life. Very fortunate, and with the ups and downs that occurs, you know, in everybody's life, you know, every day. But it's a well-lived life. Absolutely. Yes.
I love that. You know, usually I ask what do you consider to be a life well lived, but you turned it on me, man. You just gave me a life story and said this is a life well lived.
Well, I don't know. Also, you know,
I love this, like, Alberto.
You know, yeah, it's the man that is a success, that has lived well, you know, but loved much and loved often, you know. So you want to do all. You want to do all, you know, and it's all up to us, you know. It's like, you know, I like it to surround myself definitely with delicious food, great wine, because, you know, I was born and raised in the wine region, but also, you know, with lots of fun with family and friends, you know. That's what I like, you know. I want to share as much as I can what I can give, you know. And lately, you know, my life has changed, and I just see even more and more and more, and I'm evolving even more, and it's fascinating, you know. And I like it to be kind, because I believe that kindness is a language where, you know, deaf can hear, and the blind can see. I think it was quoted by a writer from the late centuries, which I think it was Mark Twain, I guess, and it was so right. It was so right about what he was saying, you know, and we definitely need more of this in our life, especially seeing what's going on around the world. We have to be more kind to ourselves and towards others. Absolutely. And food And food helps a lot in doing this. It brings us together, that's for sure. So
I love
I
it.
ask everybody, to do this. Be kinder to yourself and to others. And eat well always. Yeah. So
I
in
love
this
it. Be
way, you
kinder to
never
yourself and others
underestimate
and
it.
eat well.
Absolutely, you need to start with yourself. If you're not kind with yourself, it won't come up. So you never need to underestimate the difference you made and the lives that you touched, because you never know. You probably did something incredible with the simple morsel of food that you create. You probably have managed to change the moment of the life of somebody.
You know what you said earlier about the chefs said thank you for what you did for them at certain stages in their career. There are certain things I do in the kitchen till today, and I might have learned certain things 15, 20 years ago from someone, and I still think about them in particular when I do it, because they taught it to me.
Yes.
And that could be as simple as chopping perfect chives.
Exactly.
But there's like this moment of gratefulness or a remembrance where I'm like remembering a sous chef or someone who taught me this particular technique or taught me how to do this well. Right.
Yeah. And it's still, like you said, it's those moments still very strongly alive in my mind and in my with me and like I received those messages from elders, people that from people that I work in the past. I'll still do it today, and I keep it light because it keep me going. It says what I learned from simple gesture, incredible. It's like life isn't a matter of milestones, but moments mostly. If you really think about it, those moments that occur into you, like simple things that a person that they taught you how to chop correctly without slicing off of your fingernails or something like that. It's a big deal in certain moments. So I think the moments are very important in our minds. Yes.
Yeah.
Probably it's a little too philosophical, but if you think about it, it works.
No, you're like a philosophical chef, man. I love it. But you got me when you said that your breakfast is meditation.
It's meditation, yes. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you guys have to stop eating, your food, because it's the most powerful meal of the day. We all know. I'm just a guy that unfortunately, since I was 13 years old, I stopped eating breakfast in the way. But if I sit with the right person and with the right people around me, believe me, I will eat it like.
Yeah. Well, Alberto, thank you so much for your time. Where can people connect with you? Where can they find you if anybody wants to have your white truffle treasures?
You can contact me through my email, which is my name and last name, albertolazzarino@me.com. You can reach out to me on social media and Instagram. I'm under Forchetta Coltello, which means fork. Yeah, I'll be happy to answer questions, to help you out, to take a phone call. Pandemic era, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for making the time, and sharing your journey. Thank you for joining us at the Private Chef podcast. If you know any highly skilled chefs that want to take their life to the next level, make sure to share this podcast with them. And if you enjoyed this episode, click subscribe and check out our upcoming episodes. Thank you for listening.